Welcome to Kendall's Fantasy Preview. I'm Kendall Caps. Well, it's week 13 in the NFL, and the end is near for the NFL Fantasy regular season. So I'm going to break down a few guys that you might want to get into the lineup possibly, and a few guys that you might want to take out. We're going to start with a few receivers, Jeremy Maclin and Malcolm Floyd. With Deshaun Jackson doubtful this week for Philadelphia with a concussion, Maclin will step in as the number one wide receiver. I expect him to have a really big game against that Atlanta pass defense that's ranked 27th in the NFL. Selleck and a few other guys will also have a pretty good game, Avant, but Maclin will have most of the yards and probably at least one score. Malcolm Floyd, the last couple of games, teams have been dropping safeties down and putting double coverage on Vincent Jackson. He hasn't done a whole lot as of late. Therefore, Malcolm Floyd has been getting a lot of single coverage on the outside, had a lot of downfield completions, having a few pretty good games. This week, going against Cleveland, I expect the same thing to happen. He should have a pretty big game. Now, a few backs that you might want to take a look at that might be available. Sean Marino. And the last few weeks, he's been getting a lot more of the carries for Denver ahead of Buckhalter, and I think that's going to continue as the season continues to progress. I think that he's going to have something along 80 yards and a touch. He should get in the end zone this week. I look for him to have a pretty good game. Felix Jones is another guy that the Giants defense, they're going to try to keep Romo in check. They have a plethora of running backs that are healthy, Marion Barber, Tashard Choice, and Felix Jones. But Jones is the big hitter, the quick hitter. I think he's going to break a few, catch a few balls, should have at least 120 yards combined between rushing and receiving, and probably get a score in this game as well. And if you're looking for a quarterback to fill in, if you have a tough matchup or you have someone that's hurt, Kurt Warner possibly, Vince Young is a guy that the last few weeks he's had some pretty solid numbers. Don't forget he can give you 50, 60 rushing yards each week, maybe run the ball in the end zone. And he and Kenny Britt are really starting to find a connection there. And he threw the ball for 380 last week. I'm not saying he's going to throw for that again this week against Indy's pass defense, but he should do pretty well, and I think he'll put up some decent numbers again. Now, a few guys that you probably have in your starting rotation that you might want to be wary of. A few backs, Joseph Adai and Cedric Benson. Adai is going to be playing this week. He's been getting a lot of carries. They've been trying to balance things a little bit. However, Donald Brown is healthy again. He played a little bit last week. He's going to play again this week. I expect him to take some carries away. And not to mention that Tennessee defense, which is getting healthier, is going to try to slow things down up front, force him to have to throw the ball, which Manning will do. So I don't expect Adai to have much more than maybe 10 or 15 touches in this game. That's going to limit what he can do for you. Cedric Benson, on the other hand, he's going to be back this week. He's been cleared to play. He's a solid back, going against a poor Detroit rush defense. However, with the signing of Larry Johnson and the solid play of Bernard Scott, which has surprised a lot of people, I think once they get up 14 in that second quarter, they'll probably bench him or he will not play as much as you would like. So if you have another option or a good flex option, it might be worth using here. And a few receivers to keep in mind, to be a little bit wary of, Michael Jenkins, Jericho Cotchery, and Dwayne Bowe. Jenkins, I know he's not the top of everyone's list every week, but at home he usually plays pretty well. But Matt Ryan is going to be out this week. With Redmond in there playing, I don't expect him to do very much, especially against that solid Philly pass defense that's been great all season long. Cotchery and Bowe are in similar situations. They're number one receivers on your team, maybe a number two, and you probably can't bench them, but bring your expectations down a bit. For Cotchery, he's going against a Buffalo defense that had 6 picks against Sanchez last time they played each other a few weeks ago. That was in New York. Now they're going to Buffalo, and Buffalo's playing well off the win last week. That defense has been pretty solid, especially in the secondary. I expect more of the same. Don't have too high hopes for Jericho Cotchery this week. And Dwayne Bowe is going against another solid pass defense in Denver. And don't forget, Denver had 10 days to prepare for this game. They need this win to keep pace and maintain that spot in the NFC West as well as the AFC West, as well as the AFC wild card. So it's a key game for them. They will shut down that Kansas City passing game. Well, that's going to do it for Kendall Fantasy Preview of Week 13. If you'd like to see any of the NFL picks or for all things sports, you can log on to AmericanSportsDaily.blogspot.com, and we will be sure to see you next week.